Let's get started on your mat. This is a 10-minute addition for some extra core work. Grab a block if you have one, and if you have a heavier weight or something you can use as a heavier weight, grab it now. And if you have 2 water bottles or something the same size as light hand weights, grab them. All of these are optional. Let's get started lowering down on your mat. Grab your block and place it underneath your sacrum. That's the biggest part of your pelvic bone. It should feel really good. If you feel any tension in your lower back, that's because you're on your lower back. Just send it down a little bit further. Lift your feet up to the sky and then reach your feet up as you reach your neck up. So squeezing in, squeezing in. Try to relax your neck, but lifting your head to your feet. Up and down, up and down. Start with your right foot, bring it down. Scissor out your legs, so back and forth, left and right, left and right. You can go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. That's up to you, but each time you're squeezing in your abs. When you've had enough, just lay your feet down on your mat, butterfly out your legs. Reach your hands up, get a good stretch, full body stretch. Just breathe here. Take a few deep breaths. And when you've had enough, bring your knees back together again. Remove the block from underneath your hips. Send your feet to the sky again and reach up with your hips. So your hips are leaving the mat, lifting up, pressing. You're engaging your transverse abdominal muscles. Do 5 or so and then lift your hips up. You can hold your hips up and just hold. Stretching out the spine, and then lowering back down. Do a few reps of those. So squeezing in, lifting your hips, pressing your heels to the ceiling a few times, as many as you want, and then lifting your hips all the way up, giving yourself some support if you need. Making sure that your weight is not in your neck. It should be on your shoulder blades. So make an adjustment if you need to. And you can do as many reps of these as possible, doing 5 to 10 reps of just lifting your hips. And then on that last one, just hold your hips in the air. And then try to get your feet back over your hamstrings, your hips. You don't want your feet to run away from you. Roll up. And let's do some scissors without the block underneath your sacrum. So you're just scissoring out your feet, grabbing onto the hamstrings or quads or the calf muscles, whatever's available to you. But lifting and lowering, your lower foot hovers on the mat. You never really return to the mat. And then let's transition to just both feet up in the air and then squeezing in. You can send your hands to the front of the room, squeezing in, squeezing in. You can flip your palms, or you can just keep them on the mat if that feels better for you. When you've had enough, just return your soles of your feet to the mat. Lift up your hips, and then squeeze in. So bridge lift, and then lift your feet to the air, squeeze in. Lifting and squeezing, providing an extension in your hip flexors in that bridge hold. And then getting your heart rate up. So we're doing a lot here with this movement, with this motion. Hips up, squeeze in. You can reach up as high as you want, or you can go as low as you want. Just depends on how deep you want the core work to be today. Now find stillness and then lift your hips up into bridge. Roll onto your shoulders. If that feels good to you, open up your chest. You can clasp your hands together, or you can come into full wheel. Just flip your palms back around, press up with your feet and your hands into full wheel. Go at your pace, meet yourself where you're at today. Squeeze into a little ball, and then crisscross your knees, and then twist them to one side. Let's start with the left side first, and then we're going to come into an oblique cruncher. Squeezing in the side body, Anchoring yourself with the left palm if you need to or want to. Now come back to center, crisscross the other way. Work the obliques on the left side. Your knees are just hanging out. You're squeezing in, getting that nice side body stretch and work. Awesome job. When you've had enough, come back to your back. Recenter yourself. Now extend your right foot to the ceiling. You're going to move it up and then lower it to hover. Lift it up, lower to hover. Do about 5 of these and then lift your hips up and continue the motion. Lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Great job. Then we're going to move to the other side. Start with your hips down first. And then when you do 5 to 10, you can lift your hips up. Lifting and lowering. So working the transverse abdominals, working the entire abdominal wall. This is so good for you. Relax your neck, relax your jaw. And then come on up to seated position, flip around to tabletop. We'll start with some cat-cows. Just sink your core, look up, and move your hips up to the ceiling. And as you exhale, cow pose. Cat and cow a few times. Great job. And then find stillness with a flat back, and then lift your knees. Just lift your knees to hover. You're holding yourself up by your toes and your hands. Lifting your knees to hover. Lower them down when you need to. And then let's go to spinal balance, extending your left palm to the front of the room and your right foot to the back of the room. You got it. Squeeze in. So as you extend, you're inhaling. As you squeeze in, you're exhaling. You're holding your body up with a strong core. Your back is strengthening. Other side. Reach out for new air. Squeeze in as you exhale. Extending, squeezing in. Awesome job. Come into high plank, regular plank. You can stay on your knees if you need to. But then we're going to pivot to downward facing dog. Roll back to high plank. Downward facing dog. Lengthening the spine, lengthening the entire back body, lengthening and stretching. A few of these, pivoting from high plank to downward facing dog. And then from plank, crisscross your ankles, left and right, left and right. Try to keep your back as straight as possible. Keep your hips low. If you're fatigued, you're going to want to send your hips higher. Just try to challenge yourself to keep them low. Left and right, left and right. When you've had enough, come down to your knees, come down to your forearms. From forearm plank, just move side to side so your hips are lowering and lifting, lowering and lifting. It's like a U-shaped bell, lowering on the left side, lowering on the right side. Now lay all the way down on your mat, come into cobra stretch, maybe up dog stretch, stretching out those ab muscles that we just worked. Reach back behind you, see if you can grab one of your ankles. You can do it with the same hand on the same side, or you can crisscross and, for instance, grab your left foot with your right hand. Go with what you need today. Both have value. Now lay all the way out on your mat. Lift up your feet and your hands into Superman. Hold the position. This is so good for your spine. We're building strong spines. Full body work. Lifting, holding as long as you can, and then lowering. And then we'll make the transition to swimmers. Flip your palms around to face the ceiling, and your palms are next to your hips. Keep everything lifted, and your feet are swimming through the air. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. You don't even have to swim at all. Just keep your feet lifted. Lower everything down to your mat. Bring your hips back to your heels into child's pose. Take a deep breath.